The night begins softly. The night begins softly. The air holds its breath. Shadows stretch and settle across the quiet room, folding the day into silence. Somewhere, a single flame trembles on a table, made smooth by time. Its light moves gently over the walls, over a chair, over the slow pulse of someone waiting for rest. The world outside is fading now. The noise, the hurry, the weight of thought, all of it loosens. You are not here to chase or to solve. You are here to drift, to sink into the rhythm that carries everything forward. The fire hums. The wind breathes through the window. And together, we begin our. The first moments of night arrive like a tide returning home. The air cools, the corners soften. A kind of calm takes shape around you, quiet, steady, certain. The last fragments of daylight fade beyond the horizon, leaving behind the faint scent of rain and earth. Inside, the silence expands. It touches everything it meets. The books resting on the shelf, the small cup near your hand, the sound of your own breath. There is no rush now. The world has surrendered to stillness, and you are part of that surrender. Every age has ended this way, with the day folding into night, with people pausing between what has been done and what will come. The pattern is older than language. It is the same rhythm that has turned rivers, that has carved valleys, that has held the stars in their slow and endless drift. Tonight, you join that rhythm again. You do not have to move it forward. It will carry you without effort. Outside, the wind crosses fields and empty streets. It passes through the same kind of doors that have always existed. Wooden, heavy, marked by touch. Somewhere, water moves over stone. Somewhere, a fire is being tended by quiet hands. The world continues in its patient way. It has done so for centuries, and we begin with that understanding that nothing truly disappears. The voices of the past do not vanish. They simply grow softer, waiting for the right kind of listening. They live in the spaces between sounds, in the hush before sleep, in the warmth of a fading flame, in the still air of a room like this one. Our story will move slowly, the way memory moves when no one is watching. We will walk through the corridors of time, not to find answers, but to feel the quiet pulse of what remains. There will be no battles here, no thunder of empires, no crowns or conquests. Only the ordinary rhythm that has always held the world together. The grinding of grain before dawn, the whisper of cloth being folded, the laughter that ends just before dark. You will hear the echo of rivers and the breath of wind through old stone. You will see the faint glow of lanterns along forgotten roads. You will sense the presence of hands long gone, still shaping, still tending, still caring. This is history, not as noise but as calm. It asks for nothing but your attention, and even that can drift if it needs to. Let your body settle. Let your breathing slow. The air around you is warm and still. The night waits without impatience. Beyond this moment, the centuries lie open, soft, endless, inviting. Soon we will step into that space where the world becomes quiet enough to remember itself. But for now, simply breathe. The story will begin in its own time. The light will fade, the fire will lower, and the first sound you will hear will be the heartbeat of the ancient world, steady, gentle, and unbroken. The night is ready, the past is near, and all you have to do is listen. Part 1. The Sacred Body of Egypt. The night begins softly, the way sand moves after the wind has passed. Somewhere in the hush of ancient stone, the air still holds the warmth of hands that once carved their stories into walls. Beneath the slow breath of the desert, life moves quietly, patient and full. Here, in the stillness of the Nile, the body and the earth speak the same language. The water carries light, and the skin carries time. Nothing is hurried. Every gesture, every sound of breath feels like a part of creation itself. In ancient Egypt, the body was not divided from the soul. It was a vessel of harmony, a mirror of balance. The people saw love and intimacy not as sin or indulgence, but as a rhythm, something that sustained the universe. They believed that affection between humans was a reflection of the calm order that held the stars. Each act of closeness carried the same peace as the flood of the Nile, the same quiet renewal. Their gods were near, not distant. They lived in the flow of daily life, in laughter, in the warmth of shared food, in the scent of lotus oil brushed along the skin. Temples stood open to the sky, and even the smallest hut carried the same quiet understanding that life itself was sacred, and so was the touch that continued it. By the river's edge, morning began with the same slow grace as it ended. Men washed their faces in the cool water, women combed their hair beside woven baskets, and children chased reflections among reeds. The body was greeted, not ignored. It was cleaned, perfumed, wrapped in linen or in sunlight. The act of caring for one's body was an offering, not to a god above, but to the harmony between the seen and unseen. The skin, the hair, the scent of oils were small ways of saying that existence mattered, that the living form was not a burden but a song written in flesh. In this world, beauty was not vanity, it was order. To adorn oneself with gold or lapis lazuli was to echo the light of the sun and the calm of the river. The same hands that built pyramids also painted their nails, braided hair, and polished amulets shaped like the Ankh, the breath of life. The scent of kaifi drifted through homes and temples alike, a slow perfume of honey, wine, and resins that filled the night with peace. Its smoke wound around stone columns and clay lamps, softening everything it touched. It was said to ease the heart, to bring rest to the mind. In that quiet smoke, one could almost hear the rhythm of a body breathing beside another. It was never about pleasure alone, but about continuation, renewal, and the soft reminder that nothing was truly separate. When two people met in tenderness, they did so under the same understanding that guided the river, that everything moves, gives, and returns. In paintings and carvings, couples stand side by side, hands touching lightly. Their faces are calm, their postures equal. No one dominates, no one kneels. It is a vision of harmony rather than possession. The man's hand rests gently on the woman's shoulder. The woman's hand circles his waist, a gesture that joins without claiming. They are both radiant, both alive within the same balance of forces. The Egyptians saw this as a reflection of Ma'at, the quiet law of the universe, the balance between all things. Even desire followed that order. It was not chaos, not temptation, but rhythm, as natural as the beating of the heart or the turning of the sun. Night fell like silk, cool and unbroken. Within walls of plaster and pigment, the air smelled of date wine and oil lamps. The body, clean and warmed by the day, settled beneath woven linen sheets. Lovers spoke quietly, their voices slow as the Nile's drift. Outside, palm leaves whispered, and from the far side of the village came the low hum of a flute. Every note seemed to move through the skin itself. In this calm world, no act of closeness was hidden or shamed. The body was honest, unashamed of being alive. Its warmth was part of the same light that moved across the desert each morning. When someone died, their body was treated with the same care as when they lived. It was washed, oiled, perfumed, and wrapped, not to hide decay, but to preserve the form that had carried the soul. To the Egyptians, the flesh was not temporary. It was a companion to the spirit, something to be honored. The careful bandaging, the soft linen, the oils, all were acts of gratitude. Even in stillness, the body remained sacred, a bridge between the eternal and the earthly. The preservation of the form was not fear of death, it was love for life. They believed that the body deserved to rest as beautifully as it once moved. The river itself became a symbol of this belief. Each year it flooded and each year it withdrew. From that cycle came all nourishment, all renewal. So too did the body. Its rhythms, hunger, rest, affection, and breath, were mirrors of the earth's own movements. To live in balance with these rhythms was to live in peace. The Egyptians understood that health was not the absence of pain, but the presence of harmony. To eat when hungry, to bathe at dawn, to move slowly, to listen to one's heartbeat. These were sacred rituals, equal to prayer. The home was an extension of the body. Its walls were painted with calm colors, its air scented with herbs. Even tools and cups were shaped with care, their curves reflecting the human hand. Nothing in the Egyptian world was made without intention. The same geometry that governed temples governed the lines of a bed, the curve of a vessel, the drape of a garment. To live surrounded by beauty was to remember one's place within the wider pattern, a pattern not of wealth, but of balance. In love poems written on papyrus, the words are tender, simple, and close to the body. They speak of hair like night, of skin warm as milk, of a kiss like cool water. The tone is never wild or desperate, it is patient. It is the voice of someone who knows that affection is not a storm but a tide. One fragment reads, "My heart follows after your voice, my body is refreshed by your presence." These were not grand gestures but quiet recognitions that another person could be as sacred as the earth itself. The moon passed above the river, casting a silver line across the current. Along the banks, the city breathed in sleep. Inside its homes, families rested close together. Even in stillness, the pulse of life continued, the slow, steady heartbeat of Egypt. Somewhere in the distance, a priest extinguished a lamp. Somewhere else, a mother hummed to her child. The night did not divide the sacred from the ordinary. It held them in the same breath. The body, the river, the sky, all were parts of one long exhale. The Egyptians understood that to live well was to move with grace through both pleasure and labor, through rest and awakening. The same hands that plowed fields also drew love symbols on plaster walls. The same breath that sighed in affection also sang hymns to the rising sun. Nothing needed to be hidden because nothing was outside the circle of life's quiet holiness. By dawn, the desert cooled, the stars faded, and the sand turned pale as milk. The city began to stir. A pot clinked, a rope pulled tight, a bird rose above the roofs. In that gentle return of sound, the cycle began again, a soft, endless rhythm that had lasted for thousands of years. To the Egyptians, that rhythm was life itself. The body, still warm from sleep, would rise again, wash again, love again, work again, and at night return to the same peace. Nothing was lost. Nothing was wasted. To stand beneath that sky, to touch the earth that remembers so much, is to feel the same truth they once knew, that the human body, in all its fragility, carries the same sacred order as the stars. It bends, breathes, breaks and heals, always returning to balance, always part of the great stillness that holds the desert at night. And as the wind moves once more across the dunes, soft as the passing of a hand, the world remains whole, calm, complete, and quietly alive. Part 1. the sacred body of Egypt. The people of the Nile moved through their days with that softness. They rose with the first light, bathed in the cool water, and wrapped their bodies in linen woven by careful hands. Men and women worked side by side, grinding grain, shaping clay, painting symbols of calmness on the walls that would last longer than any voice. At dusk, the air filled with the scent of bread and honey, the hum of quiet songs meant to ease the night. Love was not hidden. It lived in gestures, in the exchange of glances, in the quiet laughter shared in the fields. To love was to live well, to keep the world in balance, to share warmth against the wind. Their stories were carved in stone, lovers walking hand in hand, faces tilted toward one another, their stillness eternal. It was not passion that survived through centuries, but tenderness. Even the word for heart and mind were one, ibi, because to feel was to know. The people believed that emotion guided the soul as surely as stars guided travelers at night. To them, the body was not shameful. It was a map of memory, of birth, of care, and of quiet endurance. They understood that what keeps the world alive is not power or wealth, but the simple rhythm of touch, breath, and trust. The desert moved around them like time itself, slow, golden, patient. And as night fell over the river, the sky became a mirror of the deep, a soft reflection of every story ever told. The stars were not distant fires, they were gentle eyes, watching over a world that never forgot to breathe slowly. As the evening deepened, the villages grew quiet. The last light from the fields faded into the sound of water lapping against clay jars. Inside the homes, oil lamps glowed like small suns, their flames trembling in the breath of the night. A woman brushed scented oil across her neck. A man folded linen carefully beside her. The gestures were simple, without hurry. The air was heavy with kaifi, the sacred perfume made of honey, raisins, frankincense, and wine. It was said to calm the spirit and sweeten the dreams of those who inhaled it. The smoke curled in slow ribbons, carrying memories of the day into the open air. It rose toward the ceiling and lingered like thought. In this hush, bodies found rest. The heat of the desert softened, the coolness of the night pressed gently against the skin. Somewhere, a child murmured in sleep. Somewhere, an old man sighed and turned. The world moved quietly through its eternal pattern. The Egyptians did not fight the rhythm of existence. They moved within it, trusting that every breath carried purpose, every silence contained meaning. When dawn returned, it did not break the night. It unfolded it. The first light touched the river, and the mist drifted like silk across the reeds. The people rose again, not with haste, but with gratitude. They washed, they anointed their bodies with oil, they stretched their arms toward the east. The cycle of care continued, endless and calm. To them, this was devotion, the act of tending to what was already sacred. In their world, no division existed between the spiritual and the physical. The same hand that tilled soil could draw sacred patterns on stone. The same body that labored beneath the sun could dance beside a fire at night. Beauty was not decoration, it was balance. The smoothness of a jar, the pattern on a dress, the precision of a hieroglyph, all were reflections of the same inner peace. A disorderly mind could not create harmony in form, and so the craftsman worked as if meditating, each movement guided by rhythm and breath. Love poems written on fragments of papyrus told of this serenity. A lover's voice spoke softly. "I am your field. You are the rain that makes me bloom." These words were not about possession, but about exchange, a giving and receiving that never ended. Affection was not a burning flame, but a river's flow, continuous, deep, and sustaining. To love was to keep the current alive. As the day aged, the desert shimmered under the sun. Workers in the fields moved with measured grace, the sound of grinding stones mixed with the rustle of grain. The Nile glinted between palms, steady and wide. The world seemed still, yet within that stillness was a pulse, the same pulse that ran through every heart. The Egyptians knew that time itself was not a straight line but a circle. Each dawn mirrored another, each life reflected the last. Birth and death were not opposites, but parts of the same rhythm, like inhale and exhale. When someone passed away, their loved ones prepared the body with quiet reverence. The process was not sorrowful but tender. They cleansed the skin with natron, perfumed it with oils, wrapped it in layers of fine linen. They placed amulets between the folds, symbols of protection, of journey, of remembrance. The care given to the body was an act of love, the final conversation between the living and the eternal. Even the smallest gesture, a brush of the hand, a whisper of farewell, carried the weight of devotion. The Egyptians believed that to preserve the form was to honor the life that had filled it. In the deep night, when all fires dimmed, the desert cooled to silver. The dunes whispered, shifting softly under the wind. The constellations above mirrored the patterns of the temples below. Each star was a reminder that the world was made of the same matter as the body, the same calm essence that shaped both sand and bone. The people felt no fear beneath that vast sky. They belonged to it. Their bodies were not separate from the world they were continuations of it. Within the quiet hours, one might hear the sound of weaving, the faint rhythm of threads drawn through looms. The linen they made would clothe a child, cover a table, or wrap a resting form. The fibers carried the scent of the hands that spun them. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was hurried. Every act, however small, was part of the same endless care. In the markets of Thebes and Memphis, laughter rose easily. People bartered for bread, figs, and amulets. Children chased one another through dust and sunlight. The music of daily life was slow, grounded, and human. The body moved freely, not as an object, but as a companion to thought. Even their language reflected this unity. The word for breath was also the word for spirit. To breathe was to live, and to live was to be sacred. When the evening returned, shadows lengthened along the walls. The painters stopped their work and rinsed their brushes in small clay bowls. The last rays of light caught in pigments of red and blue. Inside each home, lamps were lit, their flames trembling like eyelids. The scent of baked barley, the crackle of firewood, the distant murmur of voices, all combined into a kind of gentle hymn. It was not sung, yet it filled the air. The people of Egypt did not need words to understand peace. It was in the way they moved, the way they touched the earth, the way they shared food beneath the same roof. Theirs was a civilization built not only on stone, but on stillness, on the quiet confidence that life itself was already complete. The body, the home, the land, the sky, all parts of one design, drawn with the patience of centuries. And when sleep came, it came softly, like water returning to the Nile. The world exhaled, the wind slowed. In that silence, the body remembered everything: the warmth of the sun, the coolness of water, the rhythm of footsteps through dust. The Egyptians called this remembrance the Ka, not a ghost, not a shadow, but the quiet echo of being. It drifted through dreams, keeping balance where breath could not reach. As the night deepened, the sacred body of Egypt rested again within its endless rhythm. The stars traced their patient arcs above the river. The sand cooled, the water stilled. In every home, a lamp flickered once more before fading. And in that final flicker, that soft shimmer between light and dark, the world seemed to whisper the oldest truth that the body is not merely flesh, but the vessel of stillness itself, holding within it the calm pulse of eternity. Part 2. The Gentle Bonds. Evening settles over the Nile, soft as linen drawn across the world. The air cools, a pale shimmer spreads along the river's skin. Lanterns bloom behind narrow windows, their light bending across courtyards where jasmine vines climb and voices move like slow water. The river breathes quietly, carrying whispers of oars and distant songs. Dust drifts, golden in the last rays, before surrendering to the deep blue of night. Along the banks, two people sit side by side on smooth stone steps. Between them lies a small loaf of bread, a clay cup filled with water, and silence, a silence full and alive, not empty. They watch the river darken into silver, reflecting the first stars. There are no vows, no priest to bless the union, no ceremony to mark its beginning. Marriage here begins the way day turns into night, naturally, without announcement, without fanfare. To be joined is simple. A man and a woman share food, a home, the same rhythm of life. That is enough. Their bond is recognized not by decree, but by presence, by neighbors who see them together, by children who laugh nearby, by the daily pattern of care that weaves one life into another. The people of the Nile need no parchment, no witness carved in stone. They need only the steady rhythm of living side by side, grinding grain in the same courtyard, washing linen in the same water, tending small fires against the wind. The woman is not shadowed by her husband. She keeps her own name, her own property, her own voice. She may buy and sell, plant and harvest, lend and collect. Her hands, roughened by work, belong to her alone. If peace fades, if the bond no longer carries warmth, she may leave. The law allows it, quiet, dignified, without spectacle. And when she does, she keeps what she has earned, the tools she held, the grain she gathered, the linen she wove by hand. Her worth does not dissolve into marriage. It continues quietly, firm as the stones that line the river's edge. Love here is not measured in words, but in gestures. A bowl of cool water left on a step. A cloak folded neatly against the chill. A handful of figs shared before dawn. These are the languages of affection. Quiet, enduring, needing no translation. Most of love lives in silence. It rests in the glance, exchanged while kneading dough, in the rhythm of feet walking home together after work, in the small trust of shared sleep beneath the same woven mat. In the narrow streets of Memphis and Thebes, couples walk beneath the moonlight, speaking softly of the day. Some work in workshops filled with dust and warmth, carving stone or shaping copper. Others grind barley into flour until their hands smell of earth and sun. Some sit near the doorway, watching children chase each other in the sand, their laughter carrying like music. The city hums like a long exhale, slow, content. No one hurries. Love moves at the pace of the river. Each home along the Nile holds its own quiet story. A husband returns from the fields, his back damp with sweat. His wife rinses his hands in cool water, not out of duty but of care. A mother hums while braiding her daughter's hair. A pot simmers slowly over coals, the smell of lentils and herbs drifting through open windows. From every doorway, small acts of tenderness glow, ordinary yet luminous. Even disputes when they arise are handled with a kind of calm gravity. Words are weighed, not thrown. The people have learned that tempers pass like storms, but respect, once broken, takes longer to mend than clay. So they choose their silences carefully, knowing that sometimes peace is built not on agreement, but on patience. There are no grand gestures here, no songs shouted across balconies, no public promises of eternal love. Theirs is a faith in continuity, in days repeating gently, in work shared, in rest found together. They believe that affection, like the Nile itself, deepens with time, cutting slow and sure through the heart of life. When festivals arrive, couples join the crowd, not as separate souls but as one rhythm among many. They dance barefoot on the dust, bracelets chiming like distant bells. The river reflects their movement, each ripple catching fragments of laughter. Yet even amid celebration there is restraint. They know that joy, like sorrow, burns too brightly to last. Better to keep it steady, to let it glow rather than flare. As night grows heavier, lamps are dimmed, and the city folds into stillness. Somewhere a lute hums, faint as memory. The two who shared bread earlier now lie beneath a woven canopy. The air smells of lotus and baked earth. In the dark, their breathing finds the same cadence. Outside, the Nile flows on, ancient, tireless. It has witnessed empires rise and fall, kings crowned and forgotten. But here, beside its banks, life remains unchanged in its essence. People finding each other, choosing to stay, parting when they must. The river understands such constancy. It does not question why it moves, nor where it ends. It simply flows, patient and eternal, carrying everything, grief, laughter, love, toward the sea. At dawn, the woman wakes first. She stirs the fire, grinds the grain. The man fetches water. Their day begins without words. Birds scatter over the rooftops. The sun paints the sky with copper. They eat quietly side by side as they did the night before. Nothing extraordinary happens, yet everything essential does. Because love to them is not a story to be told, but a life to be lived. It asks for no witnesses, no signatures. It asks only for presence, for the steady heartbeat of two lives moving together through the long, unending song of the river. The gentle bonds. Here are songs written on pottery shards, our poems scratched by charcoal on the walls of homes and tombs, faint traces of voices that time could not erase. They do not praise gods or boast of conquest. They speak of tenderness, of the quiet pulse of human longing. My heart moves toward you, one fragment reads, like a reed bends toward the light. You are the cool air after heat, the shade beneath a fig tree. The poets of this land did not shout their love. They whispered it, letting their words rest like soft wind upon the surface of water. Their verses carried the scent of life itself, the fragrance of myrrh brushed upon warm skin, the sweetness of dates shared in the hush of evening, the sound of footsteps approaching gently in the dark. Love to them was not a thing of abstraction, but something that could be touched, worn, carried, exchanged, as real as linen, as enduring as gold. It was a gift of presence, of hands meeting, of shared breath and familiar rhythm. In this world, love was not confined to ceremony. It was lived, breathed, folded into the fabric of everyday existence. When lovers parted, by travel, by war, or by the long passage of time, they did not cry out to the heavens. They waited, patient as stone, trusting that the same river which carried them apart would one day bring them together again. They sent messages folded into clay, soft and malleable like the heart before it hardens. Sometimes they pressed small amulets into each other's palms. an eye for protection, a lotus for rebirth, a scarab for endurance. These tokens were silent promises, meant to be carried close to the skin, reminders that affection, once given, does not vanish with distance. Even when apart, the thought of care remained unbroken, steady as the Nile's eternal rhythm of flood and retreat. Night descends slowly over the city. The air hums with the sound of palm leaves swaying, of water murmuring against the banks. From open courtyards, the faint smell of oil lamps drifts upward, mingling with smoke and sleep. Voices soften, fading into the rhythm of breathing. Somewhere, a woman hums to herself, a circular tune that carries neither beginning nor end. It is not meant for an audience, but for comfort, a melody that folds her into the night. Beside her, a man closes his eyes, the sound of her voice mingling with the darkness until it becomes indistinguishable from the wind. They need no more than this. No declarations, no proof, no witness. To love in this world is to share stillness, to find solace in the ordinary, to live without expectation or measure. Each dawn brings renewal. They rise together when the first light spills across the rooftops. The city stirs. Footsteps echo on stone, water jars clink, donkeys bray, roosters call from distant courtyards. The woman grinds grain, the man lifts the water jar. They move without haste, bound by the rhythm that life itself provides. Work, rest, water, warmth. The pattern repeats, small acts forming the endless mosaic of companionship. To those who live by the Nile, love is not a moment but a continuum, a thread woven through days that stretch beyond memory. It does not flare or fade. It endures, shifting shape but never substance. As the years fold one into another, their bodies change, slower now, their hands lined with labor and sun. But the gestures remain the same. The man still leaves a fig at her side before dawn. She still folds his cloak neatly at dusk. These acts, repeated across decades, become prayers in motion. They no longer need to speak affection aloud. It has settled into their bones, into the way they inhabit space together. The world beyond them changes, rulers rise and fall, temples crumble, dynasties give way to sand and knee, but their small circle of care persists untouched. In the twilight of their lives, they return often to the riverbank where they first sat as youths. The water glides past, ancient and unending, carrying with it the same scent of silt and lotus, the same murmur that once filled their evenings. They watch the light move across the surface, gold melting into blue, blue into silver. The same river that bore their youth now carries memory. They speak little. There is no need. Every word that mattered has already been lived. Love here does not fade. It transforms, from passion to presence, from fire to glow, from movement to stillness. When the time of parting finally comes, it arrives as gently as dusk. One remains by the river, the other carried away by the unseen current of time. But even then, the bond endures, in the shape of their names carved into stone, in the faint outline of two figures whose hands still touch. The city may change, the river may shift its course, but the echo of their life remains, etched into the silence of the earth. And so the story continues, not in words but in the quiet persistence of love itself, in the scent of myrrh lingering on ancient air, in the pattern of footsteps pressed into worn stone, in the songs written on broken pottery shards, in poems smudged by centuries of dust. Every mark, every trace, every whisper is a fragment of what they once were. Two souls moving gently through the same world, leaving behind not monuments, but presence, to live, to love, to remember. These are one and the same. The river flows, the wind turns the palms, and the city breathes as it always has. Nothing grand, nothing new, only the endless return of tenderness, a hand finding another, a voice humming softly in the dark, the cool air after heat, the shade beneath a fig tree. Part 3. The subtle balance. Morning unfolds over the valley like a breath held too long. Light slips across the river and through the reeds, touching the roofs of houses built from clay and straw. The air carries the faint scent of wet earth and smoke from early fires. Inside, life begins again in the same unhurried rhythm that has shaped the world for centuries. The people of the Nile understand balance. They live by it, breathe it, and keep it alive through the smallest acts. A measured step, a quiet word, a bowl filled halfway, and no more. To them, the body is part of nature's quiet machinery. It is neither secret nor shameful, but a vessel of continuity. It grows, weakens, heals, and gives life again, just as the river floods and recedes. Midwives move softly between doorways, carrying woven baskets filled with herbs, honey, and salt. They speak in low voices, their hands steady from years of practice. There are no hospitals here, no written charts, only memory and the calm certainty of touch. The knowledge of life is held not in books, but in gestures passed from hand to hand, the pressure of a palm, the scent of crushed leaves, the sound of breathing that steadies another. The knowledge of medicine is practical and ancient. When pain comes, they reach for plants that cool or soothe, lotus for the heart, garlic for the blood, willow bark for the ache of bones. When the body must mend, they grind seeds and mix them with oil, patient as the earth itself. And when a new life is ready to arrive, they wait without fear, breathing with the rhythm of the mother, listening for the quiet cry that means the world has begun again. In the cool corners of the house, jars stand in rows, filled with resin, herbs, and small bundles of linen tied with reed string. These are the tools of balance. Some heal the stomach, some steady the blood, some quiet the restless heart. Each was discovered not by theory, but by time, by watching what worked, by remembering what calmed, by noticing what helped one life continue after another. The old women know which leaves ease fever, which flowers coax sleep. Their knowledge is the slow accumulation of centuries, written nowhere except in their hands. There is knowledge too in how to pause creation. Women know mixtures that slow the body's readiness, that give space between children, that let strength return. The recipes are simple and private, passed from one generation to the next, whispered at twilight or shared while grinding grain. They use oil, acacia, honey, ground bark, pomegranate rind. Every ingredient has a reason, every ritual a purpose. It is not magic, but understanding, a respect for the body's rhythm. In a world ruled by the flood and retreat of the river, control is never absolute. It is gentle, negotiated, understood. Men and women alike learn that care is not power, but patience. The healer does not command the body, they listen to it. They wait for it to find its own calm. This patience defines Egyptian life, the slow weaving of linen, the measured planting of seed, the quiet tending of wounds. Nothing is rushed because nothing truly ends. The same soil that grows the grain receives it again after harvest, and what decays today will feed tomorrow's growth. Outside, the sun climbs higher, flattening the colors of the land. Workers rest in the shade, the air thick with dust and heat. The rhythm of the day slows to protect itself. A woman carries water from the river, her steps measured and sure. She does not think of what she carries as holy, but she knows it is life. Each drop will be used with care for washing, for mixing medicine, for cooling a fevered brow. Nearby, children play by the edge of the reeds, their laughter rising above the drone of insects. The river glints like a mirror, the current whispering its endless refrain. By midday, the valley glows like bronze. Farmers stoop among the fields, cutting stalks of barley, their bodies moving in long, fluid gestures that seem as old as the earth itself. Donkeys pull wooden carts filled with clay jars. The smell of bread baking drifts through the air. Everything breathes the same rhythm, steady, circular, unbroken. Balance is not a rule, but a way of seeing, an instinct that guides the hand and heart alike. When evening returns, the land exhales. The heat loosens its hold, and families gather beneath the palms. The oldest among them tell stories, not of conquest or rule, but of small miracles. A child born healthy, a wound that closed, a sickness that passed. They speak of the time when the river rose just enough, not too high, not too low, when the crops grew thick and the fish were plentiful. Each memory is offered quietly, as if the telling itself might preserve the balance for one more day. The listeners do not cheer, they nod, slow and grateful, because in this land, even survival is an art. The body is treated with the same respect as the earth, gently, without ownership. It is wrapped, washed, fed, and allowed to rest. To harm it unnecessarily is to disturb the world's stillness. So they move carefully, aware that each gesture leaves a trace, the potter's hands shaping wet clay, the farmer's back bending toward the soil, the child's first uncertain steps, all of them part of the same calm continuity. When death comes, it does not shatter the pattern. The body is washed in cool water, perfumed with oil and wrapped in linen. Words of thanks are whispered, not to the gods alone, but to the body itself, for carrying breath, for bearing labor, for loving and being loved. The dead are not feared, they are folded gently into the rhythm of the living. What ends in one form continues in another. The Nile itself is witness, always returning, always leaving, always the same and never the same. Night falls again, and the desert cools. The stars rise without sound, sharp and innumerable. In the distance, someone hums a tune while tending a small fire. The flame flickers over their face, revealing the quiet satisfaction of one who understands their place in the long rhythm of life. The balance holds, fragile, constant, and endlessly renewed. In the dark, families sleep close together on woven mats. The scent of herbs lingers in the air, a jar of water glows faintly in the starlight. Somewhere, a child dreams of the river, of fish darting through reeds, of sunlight bending through water. His mother stirs, pulls the cloak around him, and closes her eyes again. Everything is as it should be. This is the heart of the valley, not the temples or the tombs, but the rhythm that ties all things together. The people of the Nile do not seek perfection, they seek harmony. To live well is not to rule or to conquer, but to remain in balance with what endures, the earth, the water, the body, the breath. Each life is a brief echo of the same song, sung endlessly by the river and the stars. And when dawn comes once more, when light slips again through the reeds and touches the roots of clay, it is as if nothing has changed, yet everything begins anew. The same hands rise to work, the same hearts steady themselves to care, to heal, to make, to rest. The subtle balance continue, not as a choice, but as a truth. It is the unseen thread that holds the valley together, as constant as the tide, as delicate as breath. Part 4. The Fading Fire. The sound of wind changes, the soft murmur of the Nile fades, and the centuries move forward. The air thickens, heavier now, laced with smoke and the faint taste of iron. Time turns its page, and the world awakens in another age. It is the year 1814, in a young nation still learning how to stand. The river that once carried grain and silence has become another, the Potomac, carrying reflections of a capital not yet old enough to believe in permanence. The streets of Washington lie quiet beneath the weight of summer. The air trembles with heat, the light too bright to be kind. Grass grows uneven between cobblestones. Wooden fences lean where the wind has had its way. Candles flicker behind open shutters, their small flames restless in the stillness. Somewhere, a clock strikes, and the echo feels too fragile to belong to a city that calls itself a nation's heart. The scent of wood lingers like a warning, dry and patient. Then, fire. Not the wild, chaotic blaze of myth, but a slow, deliberate burn, the kind that knows its purpose. British troops move through the capital without hurry. They carry torches instead of swords, paper instead of proclamations. Their boots sound steady against the dirt roads, their eyes reflecting the dull orange light of houses already smouldering. They have not come for conquest, but for message. To remind perhaps that power too can be burned. The night fills with the soft crack of timber, the low sigh of flame. The city listens as its own breath turns to smoke. One by one, buildings yield the Capitol, its dome unfinished yet proud. The President's house, pale and silent before it catches. The libraries filled with words that will never be read again. Fire crawls across the roofs like thought, consuming, remembering, forgetting. It touches marble, wood, and ink alike, making no distinction between law and letter, dream and record. The city glows not with glory, but with surrender to inevitability. The streets shimmer with reflected flame, paint curls, glass bursts, paper rises in spirals of embers. Those who watch do not scream. They stand in silence, their faces washed in amber light, their shadows long and trembling. The fire, in its cruel way, is almost beautiful. Clean in its purpose, absolute in its movement. In the President's house, the curtains collapse first, then the ceiling. The portraits on the walls melt into darkness. Outside, the Capitol's pillars glow like candles before they blacken. The air hums with heat and grief, but no one calls it tragedy. This, they know, is what time does. It consumes what it must, so that something else might rise in its place. When the roofs fall, sparks scatter upward into the dark sky, carried by wind and chance. They drift over the Potomac like wandering stars. Some fall into water, hissing softly. Others vanish into the thick smoke where the horizon used to be. And somewhere beyond the flames, a storm is forming, unseen but near. The clouds gather, heavy and electric, as if the sky itself can feel the imbalance. Then rain. At first, a few drops, hesitant, sizzling against hot stone. Then more, cold, absolute, falling with the force of forgiveness. Lightning flashes, not in anger but in rhythm, a counterpoint to the burning below. The fire resists, sputtering and gasping, but the storm is patient. The wind bends the smoke away from the houses that remain untouched. Thunder rolls across the river, deep and distant, echoing through the hollow shells of what was. A single gust sweeps through the streets, scattering ash like dust, the remains of wood, of words, of ambition. In that moment, the burning and the cleansing become one motion, destruction and relief folded into the same breath. The fire does not lose, it completes itself. The rain does not conquer, it accepts. Together they bring silence back to the city, the kind of silence that feels ancient, as though it had been waiting beneath the noise all along. When morning comes, the city is grey. The streets are coated in ash that glitters faintly under the pale sun. Walls stand without roofs, windows without glass. The air smells of rain and charcoal, of things both ended and reborn. Birds perch on blackened beams, uncertain but curious. The river moves quietly beside the ruins, carrying soot and memory alike toward the sea. Men walk through what remains. Their boots sink into wet ash. Their silence is deeper than grief. They speak little, their faces streaked with soot and disbelief. Some bend to lift fragments, a coin fused to stone, a burned hinge, a half-charred page. One man finds the corner of a flag, its stars still visible beneath the black. He folds it once, twice, and says nothing. There is no victory, no defeat, only endurance. The fire has passed, but its heat lingers in memory. The city will rebuild, as cities always do. Stone will rise again where ash now lies, but something intangible has been marked, a recognition that creation and ruin are kin, that no structure stands outside the reach of time. By noon, smoke drifts faintly above the horizon, like the last thought of a dream. The soldiers have gone, the storm too. The citizens move slowly, gathering what can be saved, sweeping what cannot. In the distance, hammers begin to sound, soft, uncertain, but insistent. From the blackened shell of the capital, a man picks up a fallen column fragment and traces its curve with his hand, as though memorizing what endurance feels like. The air is clearer now, though it still carries the ghost of fire. The light has changed, colder but sharper, as if the world has been scrubbed of its illusions. People look upward, not in fear, but in wonder that the sky still holds. The flag will be stitched again, the walls rebuilt, the words rewritten. Yet something in the city's pulse has altered forever, a humility born from flame. By evening, the river gleams once more. Children wander among the ruins, their laughter small but defiant. The first stars return, cautious and bright. And for the first time since the fire began, a breeze passes through the empty streets, cool and carrying the scent of wet earth. It moves like a sigh through the hollow windows, through the burned rafters, over the quiet stones. It is not triumph that remains, but balance. The same balance that once guided the people of another river, another age. The understanding that destruction and renewal are one, that even in ruin, life continues its patient work. The fading fire leaves behind not despair, but proof. What endures is not the flame, but the will to begin again. The quiet after. In one of the ruined rooms, a single chair remains upright. Its paint is blistered, its seat blackened, the grain of its wood exposed like a scar. Around it, the floor is scattered with fragments of plaster and glass, the smell of smoke still caught in the cracks of the wall. Someone steps inside, a man or a woman, it no longer matters, and brushes the soot from the chair's back. The motion is slow, deliberate, almost reverent. Then they sit, as if to remind the empty house that stillness is stronger than flame, that something upright can survive the ruin. Dust drifts in the beam of light that falls through a broken window, turning the air into gold for a moment before it settles again into silence. Outside, the river keeps moving, indifferent and calm. It slides past the city as it always has, carrying branches, bits of charcoal, the faint shimmer of ash dissolving into its depths. The water does not mourn. It has seen fire before. It has seen empires rise and fade, seen cities vanish into smoke and return in new forms. Its patience is older than memory. It knows that all things built by hand will one day fall and be built again. Days pass, the smoke thins, the smell of burnt timber gives way to the smell of wet earth and lime. The survivors begin to rebuild, plank by plank, brick by brick. There are no speeches, no banners, no promises of glory. They do not speak of revenge, they speak of work. The act of lifting stone becomes a kind of prayer without words, a conversation with what remains. The hammer's rhythm replaces the drums of war. It is steady, human, alive. Children wander through the ruins with baskets, collecting nails and bent hinges, placing them carefully as if gathering seeds. Their laughter echoes between the hollow walls. Women wash linen in the river and hang it from blackened doorways, letting the wind carry the smell of smoke away. The white cloths flutter against the scorched walls like small flags of surrender, or perhaps of renewal. Every gesture, no matter how small, becomes a declaration that life continues. Somewhere far from the city, in a quiet room lit by morning light, a writer picks up a pen. His hand trembles slightly as he begins to describe the sight of the flag that had remained, fluttering through the night while the city burned. He does not write of victory, he writes of persistence, of the way the fabric caught the firelight yet did not vanish. The image will become a story, the story will become a song, the song will pass from one mouth to another until it becomes memory, a shared inheritance that outlasts both flame and ruin. By the time the treaty is signed, the war itself has already begun to fade into the rhythm of daily life. Fields are ploughed again, the ground, though charred, is generous. The rivers carry lumber, grain, and the slow return of trade. Men repair the bridges they once burned to delay their enemies. Children chase each other through the dust where soldiers once marched. The world resumes its patient breathing. History will remember the fire as a moment of loss, a line in a book, a date etched into marble. But in the slower language of sleep, in the dreams of those who lived through it, it becomes something gentler, a turning of the soil, a reminder that everything made by hands will one day crumble, and everything crumbled can be made again. The rain returns each season. It falls softly over the ruins, filling the hollows where floors once were, feeding the weeds that rise between stones. The trees grow back, roots pressing through forgotten walls, lifting fragments of brick into sunlight. Birds nest in the rafters of what used to be the great hall of government. The air smells of sap and iron. Time moves in slow circles, smoothing the edges of stone, turning pain into pattern. In one corner of the rebuilt city, a mason carves his initials into the base of a wall. He knows they will fade, but he does it anyway, a small defiance against forgetfulness. Nearby, a woman tends a small garden where ashes once lay, her hands dark with soil. She hums as she works, unaware that her song carries the same rhythm as the hammers from the building sites beyond the street. Work and music blend until they are indistinguishable, the sound of life resuming its shape. At night, the new lamps glow softly, their light pale against the memory of the fire that once lit the sky. People walk the streets again. They do not speak of what was lost, though every step passes over ground that remembers. The scent of smoke still lingers faintly in the air, as if the city itself refuses to forget completely. Memory is its foundation, invisible but strong. Far above, the sky is vast and clear. The same constellations that watched the flames now watch the rebuilding. The same stars that once reflected in the Nile centuries ago now shimmer on the surface of the Potomac. Time folds upon itself. Rivers and cities and people echo each other across ages. All that changes are the names, the rhythm endures. As months turn to years, the traces of the fire grow faint. New paint covers the walls, new flags are raised, new children are born who will never know the scent of ash. Yet the memory persists quietly, like an ember buried deep within the heart of the city. It warms rather than burns. It reminds rather than warns. In the long view, nothing is truly destroyed. Everything becomes part of the cycle, decay feeding growth, silence leading to sound, loss creating space for renewal. The city remains not as it was, but as it must be, a living archive of change. Beneath its streets lie layers of charcoal and clay, each telling the same story in a different tongue. The story of endurance, of persistence, of beginning again. And so it continues. The river flows, the seasons turn, the people build and rebuild, always carrying forward what cannot be burned, the quiet knowledge that life itself is stronger than flame. When the wind moves through the city at night, it hums through open windows and over the roofs, whispering not of destruction, but of balance, of the peace that follows patience, of the calm that grows from chaos. The fire has faded, but its light remains, not in the sky, not in the ashes, but in the hands that rebuild, in the hearts that remember. And under that same wide sky, the city breathes once more, steady, scarred, and beautiful. The silent mothers. The light fades over a different world. The scent of grain and smoke replaces that of ash and thunder. The centuries have turned backward, carrying us to the slow heart of the Middle Ages, where time moves in circles rather than lines. The air is thick with the smell of earth, wool, and wood smoke. Fields stretch outward beneath a pale, heavy sky. The world feels smaller, quieter, enclosed by the rhythm of bells and seasons, hemmed in by the walls of time itself. A woman wakes before dawn. The room around her is cold. The hearth has gone out during the night. She pulls on a coarse wool dress, wraps a shawl around her shoulders, and listens for the faint breathing of her child beside her. The wind hums softly through the thatch roof. The floor creaks beneath her bare feet. She moves with the sure, careful grace of one who has done this every morning of her life, and perhaps every life before it. She lights the hearth with hands that remember more than her mind does. The small flame trembles, then steadies, painting her face in flickering gold. It will warm the bread, the air, the silence. This is her rhythm, the endless repetition that keeps the world turning, grinding, washing, mending, feeding. The work does not change, but it sustains everything that does. Every motion carries the weight of those who came before, every gesture a thread woven into the fabric of continuity. When her child cries, she lifts them with the same quiet strength that held generations. There are no medicines here, no guarantees, only warmth, patience, and faith in the body's small miracles. Life begins softly and ends softly in this place, and in between there is work, steady, necessary, unending. She does not think of the future. She thinks of the next meal, the next fire, the next winter. Her world is measured not in years, but in tasks completed, in small victories. A dry loaf, a healed wound, a safe night's sleep. Outside, the village stirs. The first light spreads like thin milk across the fields. The sound of hooves, the cry of crows, the toll of the bell that marks the day's beginning. Men move toward the fields with scythes and ploughs, their shapes half swallowed by mist. Women carry water from the well, their hands red from cold, their steps steady and sure. They speak little, words are saved for what matters. yet their silence hums with recognition, a music without melody. Each one knows the other's burden, and that knowing is its own kind of comfort. Life in these centuries is not cruel by design, only by necessity. The earth gives sparingly, and the body must match its rhythm. Birth and death stand close together, sometimes within the same day, the same room. Mothers bury children, and then bear more. They do not ask why, they continue. The world depends on their endurance, though no song will ever name them. Their names are written not in ink, but in the repetition of motion, in bread baked, wounds cleaned, fields gleaned, infants soothed back into quiet. They are the silent architecture of history, invisible yet unbroken. Without them, kingdoms would starve and faith itself would wither. The monks who copy scripture, the knights who ride to war, the kings who sign decrees, all of them stand upon the unseen labor of women who rise before dawn and sleep beside embers. In the stone houses of the wealthy, the pattern is the same, only softened by silk and candlelight. Noble women sit by high windows, sewing tapestries or writing careful letters, their lives measured by the flicker of wax and the pace of news brought by servants. They too live within walls of expectation. Their bodies are not their own. Their days belong to lineage and alliance. Each birth is both duty and danger. Every child carried to term is a triumph of endurance. Every loss a silence that echoes through marble halls. Yet even here, tenderness persists. In the nursery, a mother hums to a restless infant, her song barely louder than the flame beside her. Her jewels glint like stars, but her eyes are heavy with the same fatigue as the peasant woman by the hearth. Their lives, separated by distance and title, share the same rhythm. The weight of care, the repetition of waiting, the quiet prayer that life will hold. Seasons turn, the fields brown, then green again. The snow comes, the snow melts. The woman's child grows tall enough to carry water, to knead dough, to sweep ash from the hearth. Another infant is born, another grave is dug at the edge of the churchyard. The pattern continues. Time, like thread, winds through generations, looping endlessly, but never breaking. Inside the church, light spills through narrow windows. The air smells of wax and stone. Women kneel beside their families, heads bowed, hands folded, faces lined with years of work. They pray not for wealth or glory, but for endurance, for the strength to rise again tomorrow. Their faith is practical, grounded in the soil that stains their hems. They do not look to heaven for escape, but for steadiness. They are the ones who keep the prayers alive by living them. And when night falls, they sit by the dim glow of the hearth. The day's labor is done, yet their hands keep moving, spinning wool, patching sleeves, shelling peas. The sound of the spindle is soft and constant, a heartbeat for the house. Their children sleep nearby, their faces clean and still. Outside, the wind moans through the trees, carrying with it the smell of rain and the promise of another dawn. They do not know their place in history. They do not need to. Their legacy is not carved in stone, but pressed into the fabric of existence. In every loaf of bread, every stitch of cloth, every lullaby whispered into darkness, they are the mothers of continuity, the ones who bridge the space between centuries. When the historians write their chronicles, they will speak of kings and wars, of battles and inventions. But beneath those stories runs another quieter one, the story of women who kept the fire alive, who held the fragile world in their hands and never let it drop. The silent mothers do not seek to be remembered, yet they are the reason memory itself endures. The world rests on their unseen patience. Their names dissolve into the rhythm of time, But their work remains, the invisible pulse that has carried humanity through hunger, war, and plague. And so the centuries turn again. The same light returns each morning, falling on the same hands, shaping the same gestures. The flame is lit, the bread is baked, the child is lifted from sleep. Nothing changes, everything endures. The quiet endurance. The light fades over a world hushed by centuries. The scent of grain and smoke replaces that of ash and thunder. We have drifted backward again to the slow heart of the Middle Ages, where time measures itself in seasons, not in years. In monasteries, nuns move in ordered rows, their steps soft against the flagstone floors. Their days are given to quiet care, copying manuscripts, tending the sick, growing herbs for healing. Each gesture is deliberate, patient, and exact. Outside their walls, the seasons turn. Inside, time barely moves. Each dawn, each prayer, each breath feels like the echo of the one before, a rhythm of devotion stretching endlessly backward. Yet amid all this stillness, small tendernesses remain. A mother smoothing her daughter's hair by the fire. A neighbor leaving bread at another's door, a loaf wrapped in cloth and humility. A midwife holding the hand of a woman in labor, whispering words no one else will ever hear. These moments pass unnoticed by history, yet they hold more humanity than any throne or battle. They are the unrecorded acts that keep the world whole. When night falls, the world becomes nearly soundless. The only noise is the crackle of the hearth and the slow rhythm of breathing. Children sleep, pressed together for warmth, their faces turned toward the faint orange light. The air smells of milk, smoke, and wool. Beyond the window, the moon drifts behind clouds, slow, pale, uncertain, like a thought forgotten and then remembered again. Somewhere, far away, bells toll the hour, marking time for those who can still hear it. The woman sits near the fire, her hands resting in her lap. Her body is tired, her shoulders rounded from years of labor, yet her face holds the calm of acceptance. The child beside her stirs once, then settles again. She watches the embers fall into themselves, glowing red before fading to grey. Her thoughts are simple, not of what might be, but of what must be done tomorrow, to mend a sleeve, to fetch water, to stir the pot before sunrise. In that small certainty, she finds peace. Generations will pass before her name is forgotten. The house will crumble, the fields will change hands, the tools she used will rust back into the soil. But the rhythm she kept, the quiet endurance, the patience, the care, will remain. It will pass through centuries unseen, shaping the lives that follow, just as rivers carve valleys without a sound. The texture of her days will become the pattern of others. The way a pot is lifted, a lullaby hummed, a garden tended. What she does without thought will echo, long after thought itself has turned to dust. In the monasteries, the nuns finish their evening prayers. The candles flicker against stone walls where shadows move like ghosts of devotion. One sister pauses to feed a sparrow that has flown in from the cold. Another folds a worn robe, her hands trembling but sure. Beyond the abbey walls, the world is full of hunger and war, but inside there is a steadiness untouched by noise. The nuns, like the mothers in their cottages, live not for remembrance, but for rhythm, for the faithful repetition of compassion. Outside, frost tightens the ground. The stars gleam like distant fires. Somewhere in the village, a midwife rinses her hands in cold water after a birth that lasted through the night. She says nothing, but her eyes close for a moment in thanks, not to a god of thunder or war, but to the quiet pulse of life that endures despite everything. In another house, an old woman sits awake beside her hearth, her husband long gone, her children grown. She listens to the wind move through the trees. She remembers the same sound from her youth and realizes it has never changed. The world alters its faces, but its breath remains the same. She smiles, knowing that she too is part of that breath. Time will one day sweep away these rooms, these names, these small stories. Yet their essence will remain. The warmth of a hand, the steadiness of work, the grace of silence. The monuments of kings crumble, but the gestures of care persist in the living world. Without them, the stones would mean nothing. In the long silence of history, the voices of women like her rarely rise. They vanish between chronicles, unrecorded yet essential. And yet without them, there would be no world left to remember. They are the heartbeat beneath every empire, the breath behind every monument. They teach the earth how to continue. The fire lowers, the last flame folds into the coals. The room grows dark except for a thin line of moonlight across the floor. The woman's eyes close. She exhales slowly, as though offering her breath back to the night. The child beside her murmurs once in sleep and is still. Outside, the fields lie quiet. The sheep huddle close. The well reflects the dim stars. From the abbey on the hill, one final bell tolls, deep, soft, and sure. It marks the hour, but also something more, the passing of another small, unremarkable miracle, a day completed, a life sustained. The world keeps turning, quiet and steady, carried forward by those who ask for nothing but the chance to see another dawn. And though history will not speak their names, the earth will remember them. In the scent of bread, in the whisper of thread through cloth, in the rhythm of hearts that continue, steady and unseen, beneath the noise of ages. The lens of time. The night grows deep again. The stars hang motionless above the turning world, and the air cools with the kind of calm that follows long remembering. A different kind of light begins to rise, not firelight, not dawn, but the quiet shimmer of thought. The age of stone and smoke fades and glass takes its place. Through it, humanity learns to look farther than ever before. In a small workshop lit by a single lamp, a craftsman bends over a disc of glass. His hands move slowly, patient and deliberate. He polishes the curve with cloth and powder, stroke after stroke, each one bringing the surface closer to perfect clarity. He does not think of the stars, he thinks only of the smoothness, of how light might pass through without distortion. But what he shapes with his hands will one day open the sky. For thousands of years, people have lifted their eyes at night, tracing the slow drift of constellations, wondering without words. They built stories from the shapes they saw, hunters, lions, rivers of fire. But their questions remained unanswered. Now, for the first time, the sky will answer in detail. A lens, simple, round, and clear, will gather light, bend it, and bring the distant closer. It will change not only what people see, but how they understand their place in the vast stillness above. Long before this night, there were hints. A crystal from ancient Assyria, shaped to magnify. A bowl of water used by scribes to read small letters in dim light. A monk's reading stone rolled gently across parchment to ease the strain of aging eyes. Each of these was a quiet step toward vision, small gestures of curiosity in a world still lit by flame. Centuries pass. In Italy, in Holland, in quiet corners of the world, glass makers learn to refine their art. They stretch sand and fire into something more perfect, more invisible. In one workshop, a man holds two lenses up to a wooden frame and points them toward the horizon. He squints, adjusts, and gasps. He does not invent the stars, but he changes the way they can be seen. The first telescope is small, uncertain, a trembling bridge between imagination and proof. Yet when it turns upward, the familiar sky becomes something entirely new. The moon reveals mountains and valleys, shadowed and real. The planets, once tiny sparks, show their wandering forms, and the great darkness between them, once thought empty, grows deeper still, filled with unseen things. Another man, quiet and steadfast, refines the idea. He builds mirrors instead of lenses, shaping light rather than bending it. His nights are long, his patience infinite. He does not chase fame. He listens to the sky the way a sailor listens to the sea, waiting, attentive, humbled by vastness. With every improvement, the universe grows larger and quieter. Galaxies drift into view, nebulae bloom like slow flowers of fire. The void becomes a kind of music, a hum too deep for ears but not for mind. The stars, once thought eternal, begin to show their ages. Some are newborn, fierce and bright. Some are dying, their light stretched thin across space. All are moving, and in their motion, humanity begins to sense its own. The telescope becomes a bridge, not of stone or steel, but of light. Through it, people step beyond what can be touched. They see that their world, so vast to them, is only a small turning sphere, a bead of blue among billions. Yet within that smallness lies beauty, a completeness that mirrors the whole. The same laws that shape the motion of the planets also shape the pulse of the heart, the rhythm of tides, the spiral of seashells. Everything is one motion, one quiet pattern repeated in infinite forms. In time, the telescopes themselves leave the ground. They orbit above clouds and storms, wrapped in metal and silence. Their mirrors unfold like petals, drinking starlight that has traveled for billions of years. Each photon carries a memory. The birth of a sun, the fall of a world, the faint glow of dust drifting between galaxies. To watch it is to remember what time truly means. The images they return are quiet, even when vast. They do not shout their beauty. They unfold it. Slow swirls of color, thin rivers of light, the delicate geometry of something too distant to touch. People look at them and fall silent. Not from fear, not from awe, but from recognition. A deep knowing that this light, this silence, has always been part of them. The same calm that moves through the desert wind, the same patience that guided hands along the Nile, the same endurance that kept fires burning through the long nights of the Middle Ages. It is all here, written in light. The universe, it seems, has always moved at the pace of breath. Each discovery is a continuation, not a beginning. Each new sight returns us to the same truth, that everything changes and yet everything remains. The same atoms that burn in the heart of stars flow through blood and ocean alike. The same light that left a dying sun 1 billion years ago now rests upon a human eye. As the night deepens, the stars drift slowly westward, the lenses cool, the instruments rest. In a distant observatory, a quiet observer notes the last faint line of starlight reflected on glass. They close their notebook, exhale, and let darkness take the sky again. And so the journey ends where it began, in stillness, in wonder without words. From the sacred body to the fragile city, from the silent mother to the endless galaxy, the story has always been the same. To live, to look, to continue. The fire fades. The world slows. Light becomes memory. And the night, vast, patient, eternal, holds everything until morning. Eternal silence. The night has reached its softest point. The fire is low. The last traces of light move along the walls like slow memories. Outside, the world has grown completely still. The wind has nothing left to carry, and even the stars seem to rest. You have traveled far, through sand and smoke, through silence and time. You have watched civilizations rise and fade, each leaving behind a small echo, a pottery shard, a footprint, a thought whispered into stone. And still, the rhythm continues. The same breath that once stirred the reeds by the Nile now moves quietly through your own chest. It is the same world, the same slow turning of time, endlessly repeating, endlessly new. Every age has sought warmth against the dark. For some, it was a hearth, a handful of grain, a song shared at dusk. For others, it was a lens pointed at the stars, a way of seeing further, of remembering that the sky is patient. And though centuries stand between them, they are joined by the same desire: to understand, to belong, to stay. The kings, the builders, the mothers, the wanderers, all have gone, but their traces remain in the quiet order of things. The shape of a vessel, the curve of a letter, the faint outline of a road long covered in moss. They are not gone, they have only softened, folded into the landscape of memory. Even the smallest act, the lighting of a candle, the mending of cloth, the touch of one hand upon another, becomes eternal when repeated through generations. The river still moves, the cities still rise, the sky still opens each night to reveal the slow fire of distance. What was once seen through the eye of a craftsman's lens is now seen from the edge of the universe, but the feeling is unchanged. It is the quiet pull of curiosity, the still joy of being alive long enough to witness the light. Somewhere, a breeze stirs the grass. It carries the scent of earth and smoke, of rain waiting to fall. The world feels both vast and small, both ancient and new. And you resting here are part of it, not apart from it. You are made of the same dust that drifts between stars, the same water that once filled the clay jars of forgotten hands. Your heartbeat is as old as history and as fleeting as a spark. The stories of the night have not ended. They have only settled into the silence, where all stories live when the telling is done. The past breathes with you now, slowly, evenly. It does not ask to be remembered. It simply exists, steady and kind. And as you breathe, it folds around you like linen, light and warm, carrying the calm of ages. Let the light fade. Let the air cool. Everything that matters has already arrived. The sound of your breath is enough. The rhythm of your pulse is enough. The quiet is not empty. It is full of life, waiting, patient, eternal. Somewhere far beyond the window, the stars continue their slow drift, tracing lines of silver across the dark. They do not hurry. They never have. They move with the same grace that shaped the hands of the first storytellers, the same rhythm that will one day shape the last. So, rest now. Let the night hold you as it has held every generation before. The fire may fade, but its warmth remains. The world is still turning softly, steadily, and beneath that motion, beneath all the centuries of noise and silence, there is peace. The quiet remains. It always has. It always will.